We have heard Steven say time and time again that Ashes of Creation is not for everyone, and we have also seen many people that are worried whether Ashes would not have enough content that is catered to casuals. And I've gone back and forth on where I stand on this, mostly because all we have to go on is the design of the game and pure speculation. We won't know until we play the game, especially since Ashes has some major distinguishing features, mainly the node system, that we haven't seen in any other MMO yet. That being said, here's my current view. I think Ashes of Creation has one thing going for the casual scene that is underrated, under-talked about, and is absolutely massive for retaining the more casual crowd. And that is they're bringing back the carrot on a stick to MMOs in a very, very big way. If we rewind to the early days of MMOs, specifically the early days of WoW as an example that the most people would be familiar with, back then the carrot on a stick was very real. Now, I'm not talking about the relaunch of classic WoW, as the carrot on a stick mysteriously disappeared for that launch, mostly because the player base got much better at the game. But back in the day, before players had min-maxed WoW fully, the carrot on a stick was very real. If you inspected someone in a city and saw an epic item, that actually was fairly rare, especially early on. And that meant the majority of players always had something to work towards, most especially the casual players. That is gone in modern WoW and most MMOs by design and by players being extremely efficient. In modern retail WoW, you very, very quickly get max level and a full set of gear that allows you to experience the end game, which means in essence the main content of the game for many people then becomes logging in once a week for raiding. Sure, the casuals can do transmog or mount collecting, but that only lasts until players are happy with their appearance. But Ashes is bringing back that carrot on a stick. First, the leveling process in Ashes is designed to take a long time. It is said to take 45 days of playing 4 to 6 hours per day to reach max level. Obviously, for a casual player that plays much less than that, it will take much longer. Now for me, even in games I did not enjoy that much, such as New World, the carrot on a stick usually makes me stick it out until at least max level. And for casuals, that could keep them playing much longer than we see in a lot of MMOs, especially if the leveling process is fun and engaging. Now, I don't suspect the leveling process will be hardcore or difficult, just time consuming. Players get XP from a multitude of different sources, including PvE, PvP, gathering, processing, and crafting, events and quests, and so on. Pretty much any activity in the game provides experience. And with so many systems in Ashes, I think this could make the leveling very interesting. And I don't think it'll be a static and on-rails experience like it is in most of the current theme park MMOs because of the ever-changing world due to the node system. Then after that, there are so many other progression paths in Ashes. Obviously, freeholds could certainly be an achievement that is out of reach for the average casual player, unless they join a big guild that just helps them out with that, which that's also a possibility. But that carrot on a stick being present of wanting that freehold or wanting that big achievement could actually convert a casual player into a more hardcore player, at least temporarily, as they see something they really want. So they then decide to dedicate more time to the game to try to achieve that, because sometimes I think people play a game more casually because they're not that interested in the game to devote all their playtime to it. But if the game hooks people well enough by having that carrot on a stick and by having the game being good, then you might see a fair amount of people that eventually convert to a higher level of engagement with the game. And outside of freeholds, as I said, there are so many other ways to progress, and the way the game is described, all of these systems will probably take a long time to progress. You obviously have gathering, processing, and crafting, all of which will probably take a long time to level, and I suspect for the casuals that are just starting out, there might be ample materials available at a fairly low price for them to start out. For one, the lower tier materials spawns in a lot of games are pretty prevalent. And I think that could be the case in Ashes for sure, since they're using the New World approach of pretty much everything in the world that you see is gatherable. And second, all players, no matter their chosen artisan tree mastery, can participate in the lower tiers of all 3 trees of the artisan tree. So everyone can gather the lower tier materials, which could flood the market with them and make them relatively inexpensive by the time a casual reaches max level. Now maybe the lower tier materials being needed to process the higher tier materials might offset that, so we'll certainly have to wait and see. But suffice it to say, there will be a huge carrot on a stick in terms terms of the Artisan system for casual players. Then of course related to the Artisan tree is gear progression and gear enchanting, which again seeing players in the highest tier of gear might be rare. Ashes is not planning to have an inspect feature, but players might eventually learn the models on these higher tier gear items and decide they want to strive for that as well. Then you also have combat pets. This is a feature a lot of people are not aware of, but every class in Ashes of Creation can acquire a combat pet, and you have to progress this as well. If you ever played Arcade, this is very similar on paper to the pets in Arcade, as are a lot of systems in Ashes. Additional progression paths include religious and social organizations, mariner skills, alliance progression, guild progression, monster coin progression, and there is a lot more. Suffice it to say, a lot of this will involve plenty of carrot on a stick that keeps people coming back and wanting to get that next level of progression. And of course, an Ashes video would not be complete without talking about nodes. Nodes are the centerpiece of the game, and it is going to take a lot of time and materials being gathered to level them up. Buildings within the node will need resources to build. Casuals can have a part in this, and every little bit they give will give that dopamine hit to the players of seeing the progression bar go up for the building as they contribute these materials. So in essence, I think the main thing that could keep casuals engaged is the massive carrot on a stick that exists in several aspects of this game. The fact that achieving certain things will take a long time could keep casuals playing the game for a long time. But the key is these systems need to be engaging and not necessarily just a pure grind. I think it is impossible to not make some of this a grind more or less, but not every system can be that way if Intrepid wants to retain the casual player base. And that's all I have for this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.